Okay.
Okay, welcome everybody, and thank you very much for joining us tonight. To begin, I'd like to ask Hanover Township Police Chief Mike Locke to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Chief?
Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, we would like to begin by introducing our panel, starting with our Superintendent of the Regional High School, Maria Carroll.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. Maria Carroll, I'm Superintendent of the Hanover Park Regional High School District.
Good evening. First and foremost, I'd like to give Mayor Panula his regrets that he couldn't be here tonight. He wanted to be here. He had a conflict. My name's John Centeni. I'm the coordinator for the Office of Emergency Management and the fire director for East Hanover. I'm a retired firefighter, chief of the department for Newark, 30 years.
Hi, I'm Tracy Capicelli, the director of the New Jersey statewide Student Support Services Program for Morris and Sussex counties.
Good evening, everyone. Chief Jack Ambrose, Morris County Sheriff's Office, Chief of the Patrol Division, and I'm very happy to represent Sheriff Gannon in his absence.
Mark Taylor, Borough of Florham Park Mayor. I want to thank my very good friend Ace and for all his cohorts here, Krista, for getting this all together and putting this meeting together is a great idea.
Thank you, Mark. Hanover Township Mayor Tom Ace Gallagher.
Who's Tom?
Mayor Tim Doherty, Morristown.
Stephen Shaw, Director of the Morris County Board of County Commissioners.
Donna Gariglia, Mayor of Morris Township.
Carolyn Dempsey, Mayor of the Borough of Chatham, and I just want to say I'm thrilled to be here. This is my first time in Hanover Township in the chambers, and I want to thank Mayor Gallagher for the invitation.
Thank you, Mayor.
Brittany Heffler, Program Coordinator for Recreation in Hanover Township.
I didn't know we were going around. Fern Walken, I'm a resident of Hanover Township for about 38 years, and I'm here tonight speaking on behalf of the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking.
Chelsea Whiting, Morris County Sheriff's Office. I'm the Hope One and Hope Up Coordinator.
I'm Mike Locke, the Police Chief here in Hanover Township.
Hi, everybody. My name is Meg Rodriguez. I'm Chief Assistant Prosecutor at the Morris County Prosecutor's Office. Happy to be here on behalf of Prosecutor Carroll.
John Misha, Police Chief, Madison, New Jersey. I'm also a board member for the Hanover Township Regional Board of Ed, and I happen to be the president of the Morris County Police Chief Association for this year. So thank you, Mayor, for having me tonight.
Thank you, Chief.
My name's Rich Gilmore. I'm a Sergeant in Bayonne. Obviously, I'm a little further out, but I'm a guest of ACE. I work in our community outreach unit and our Arrive Together program with Bayonne.
Thank you very much, sir. Front row, TQ.
Tom Quirk, Hanover Township, OEM, and Recreation. Pete Burke, Recreation Commissioner, Deputy OEM Director,
Mr. Hill. Good evening, everybody. I'm Chris Kelly. I'm the principal of Whitby Park High School. Thank you for having us.
Hi, everyone. Dr. Lisa Allgaier, Wellness Coordinator. Thank you for having me.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Brian Cahill. I'm the Hanover Township Community. Hi, everybody. Thank you, Ace, for having us here tonight. I'm Councilman Brian Brokaw from East Hanover.
Thank you. Dr. Cap. Dr. Cap.
We still have a few more people that are part of our solution here. I think Dr. Cap back there.
Ace, thank you. Steve Caponegro, Florham Park School Superintendent.
And I see another superintendent over there.
Yeah.
Justin Toomey, Hanover Township Superintendent. Steve and Maria taught me everything I know.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for being here. I have an opening comment, and then we're going to get right to it. Welcome, and thank you very much for joining us here tonight. And for the record, we will be recording this entire symposium so it could be viewed by everyone and anyone at any time in the privacy of their own homes. I would like to take a minute and set the stage and run through the purpose of tonight's Mental Health and Wellness Symposium and what we would like to accomplish in the time we will be spending together. Many times in our lives when we are facing difficulty or challenges in almost any area, we may say to ourselves, I know what to do, but I don't know how to do it. Or, I think I know what I should do, but I don't know how to do it. From there, the problem-solving path is usually pretty consistent. It is to reach out to the best, most competent, trustworthy people we can, and from there, work to access the best resources available to us to work towards addressing that specific need or concern. However, in parenting, too many times we actually don't know what to do, how to do it, or wonder sometimes if we even have a problem at all, or who to speak to if we do in fact believe we have a problem. It is tough. How many times have we heard there is no handbook for parenting? Well, there are actually plenty of handbooks for parenting, but not one that can possibly address each specific need of each individual child. The purpose of this type of symposium is very specific and designed to introduce as many students, parents, and/or guardians as possible to the incredible people and resources we have right here in Hanover Township, as well as the phenomenal people and resources we have throughout many of our neighboring municipalities and the top agencies here in Morris County and the state of New Jersey. Tonight, we have assembled the top representatives in the highest levels of public service that specifically deal with our mental health and wellness. These top professionals are prepared to run through many issues that many of our children and us parents may be currently facing. They will also be very clear on who to call if we do have a problem, a concern, or just even a question. From there, they will discuss many available programs and initiatives that they currently offer and that are available every day for any student, parent, or guardian if they believe they may be helpful. The Mental Health Association, along with this diverse panel, will also go through many issues that our families may be currently struggling with and will share with you the many resources and programs that are available every day 24 hours a day to anyone and everyone that may want or need them. The panel is comprised of the very best top-level professionals in this field. They are ready, willing, and able to serve and be there for you with just one phone call, text, or email. The last takeaway for tonight is we want to make it crystal clear to everyone that you are not alone. We are all available to you and to each other at all times. And all the resources we have access to are yours, and they are just one phone call away. And for the record, if anyone would like to reach out to me personally at any time for any reason, please call 973-428-2466 or 973-441-0114. Thank you very much, and I'd like to begin the program. And the title of this presentation is Bringing Wellness to Your Students, Staff, and Our Community. Maria Carroll?
Thank you, Mayor Gallagher. Good evening, everyone. As Mayor Gallagher said, I'm Maria Carroll. I'm Superintendent of Schools of the Hanover Park Regional High School District. To my left is Mr. Kelly, Principal of Whippany Park High School, and to my right is Dr. Algeyer. She is our District Wellness Coordinator, which is a very unique program to our high school district. So, I wanted to start out by talking to you a little bit about our mission as educators within the Hanover Park Regional High School District. In that when we talk about education, many of us just think about reading, writing, and arithmetic. But what we really truly believe and foster in the Hanover Park Regional High School District is the education of the whole child. Looking at the whole child from a comprehensive standpoint, looking at their academics, but then also looking at their social emotional wellness and how the growth of the academic program directly correlates to the social emotional wellness of a student. So, what we had done, So back in the 2020-21 school year, and I'm sure many of you remember what was going on in 2020 and 2021, we started to talk about wellness, and we started to talk about student mental health, but what we wanted to do is we wanted to change the focus of what mental health was, and we wanted to change the focus by using the concept of wellness, knowing that wellness was something that was very important to our student population in order for them to learn and grow. If you look at Maslow's hierarchy, in the bottom of the triangle of Maslow's hierarchy, some of the bottom pillars of that hierarchy are safety and security. You need students to feel safe and secure in order for them to reach self-actualization at the pinnacle of that pyramid. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to put in programs in order to allow our students to not only feel safe and secure physically, but also feel safe and secure mentally. So that's where that concept of wellness has come in. And what we have done is we hired actually a district wellness coordinator with Dr. Algeier, which is one of the first types of positions we've had in the state with regards to this position. And what Dr. Algeier has done is she's worked with myself, Mr. Kelly, and the rest of the administrative team very closely in order to develop a wellness program. So over the course of the presentation tonight, you'll hear from Dr. Algeier and Mr. Kelly to talk about what wellness is, what our district does regarding the wellness program, and what impact that wellness program has specifically on our school community. And when we talk about school community, we're not just talking about students. We're talking about students, parents, and the greater community at large. As Dr. Algeier would talk about some parent presentations that she hosts on a regular basis, one at which she held even last night over at Hanover Park. And then obviously some wellness strategies and techniques that we use with our students in order for them to be successful both in the classroom and outside of the classroom as well.
Good evening, everyone. So thank you for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation to be here. I'm very passionate about what I do. I'm privileged to take care of the children in our community, to be one with our peers, our colleagues, our families, our extended families. And when we think of wellness, it's a very buzzing word right now. What is wellness? Is it yoga? Is it namaste? It could be. I like that part. But it's so much more than that. We're talking about how do we perceive ourselves? How do we perceive ourselves in the realm of academics? How do we feel in the body we've been given? Do we feel socially connected? Are we isolated? Do we feel secure financially? Talk about Maslow and what is most important. Do we have food on the table, a roof over our head? If not, how are we supposed to feel well in the school building? And if not, can we help connect you to resources that you might need? When we think about other aspects, we talk about emotional. A lot of our kids, they're so insightful, but some have not been asked, how are you feeling? Well, in what way? In connection to your ability, in connection to your identity, in connection to your family relationships. Do you belong somewhere on this campus? Do you feel like you're seen somewhere on this campus? And how to make the connections with them so there is more of a support system in place outside of the home and with us. We also talk about why is wellness important now more than ever. Oh, I'm like, ooh, you got me on my toes here. Now more than ever, and really the past 5 to 10 years, there has been an increasing need for support. And why might that be? Why now, right? Why not 20 years ago, 30 years ago? We're talking about a very complex intersection of not just, oh, there was a pandemic and we were locked down and that was very stressful, which, believe it or not, 5 years later, we're still seeing residual impact because there's a great sense of isolation and a low access to help. And during the time of a need for help, there was a record time low of providers, but a record high of needs. So then what were people doing at home by themselves? How are they coping? Were they turning to substance abuse? Was there abuse in the home? Was there feelings of not feeling understood and connected? A lot of that has still have impact today on the adults and the children. There is a lot of managing pressure. There's a perfectionistic feel that we have for the students. We have to achieve well. We have to be to this particular school. I have to have a plan. They're 14. Their prefrontal cortex is not done cooked yet. They're not finished. They're not developed. How are they supposed to know? But they feel, whether it's from social media, from parental expectations, from just the general vibe in their community, I should know. I should know what to do the rest of my life the next 40 years. And if you ask any one of us, we don't know in 5 years what we want to do sometimes. So how can we expect it of them? But they feel the pressure. They're not sure what to do with it. There's a burnout possibility when we are with all of our helping fields in this room, when we're working with families, with teachers, with students, with law enforcement, with social services. There's compassion fatigue. So can we talk about that? Can we give light to it? Can we connect with each other? This is hard. This is hard work. Can I understand and get an empathetic nod from someone, a side conversation with a colleague and leaders in our building? How can I get through today? This has been a lot. And we want to provide a dialogue for all of that. There's also an understanding that when the morale of the students and the staff feel better, we do better. When the families feel more supported, when I can throw a lifeline to a family, here's a Care Plus phone number, here's MHA. Have you talked about NJ4S in your home yet? Can we discuss if you need Nourish? There's not enough food in your household? Is there a political unrest and scarcity and anxiety that's brewing in your home that's bubbling over into the school day? Is there someone I can connect you to? Can you text 988? All of these different community resources, they develop over time. Is it my 4th year, my 5th year? It feels longer. But the more I reach out and understand who's in our community to connect our kids to and our adults to, the better off they feel supported, the more secure they feel that there's someone else on the end of the line, and the better they perform in school, and the most importantly, the better they feel about themselves, the more value they have.
So I don't typically use a microphone. I hope that's okay. I've been given kind of 2 parameters for tonight. Don't talk too much, because it takes me 10 minutes just to say hello, and try to make sure that the volume's not too low. I do have to use the microphone. All right. Well, I warned everybody, so full disclosure.
I've never seen you use one.
All right, there we go. So I also walk around a lot while I talk, so I'm going to move over here, if that's okay. A couple of things that I need to give you just my general impression on this. So it's my 11th year as high school principal at Whippany Park High School. I started at Hanover Park, and the other principal at Hanover Park High School and I were pretty much in lockstep. Pretty much everything that we're talking about here is mirrored in both schools. So it's really, really important for those of you who are curious about Hanover Park. It's the same thing. I once heard a quote long ago that if your students feel safe and secure in the building, then the test scores will take care of themselves. And I think that that's something that we always tried to do. That was always the goal of our school communities. We're small schools, we're community-based schools. A lot of our students, they come back, they live in town, they send their students or their kids back to our schools. I have a lot of teachers who went to Hanover Park. I have teachers who went to Whippany Park High School. It's a very, very tight-knit community, and that's one of the things that we really, really enjoy about it. But I would say it started in about 2010, 2011 with the advent of cell phones and access to the internet. You started to see students feel more and more isolated, and they were still kind of wrapping their head around it. Now we have these students who are fully digital natives. They are immersed in a world that is completely digital, and they have 2 realities. So when I have meetings with my students, I have class meetings once a marking period, I meet with all our students, and I say to them, you have the reality in which you live with us, the face-to-face reality, the reality with adults, with handshakes, eye contact, smiles, nuance. But then you also have this digital realm in which you live. I'm not a native to that, but you know things before we know things. You see things brewing before we see things. And what we're constantly trying to do in the school culture that results in wellness, that will impact academic performance, improving their health outcomes, they're fostering meaningful relationships, supporting social and emotional learning, bolstering healthier social and academic habits, increasing student engagement and awareness, and empowering them. Really, it boils down to one word. If you ask me, it's connectivity. Our students are starving for connectivity. And when they go out into the real world and they immerse themselves, or they sit down and they'll sit and watch a phone for hours, they will scroll through TikTok, they'll scroll through Instagram, and they will spend a lot of time interfacing with something that's curated, and it's really trying to manipulate them. What we try to do is when we bring them back into the building, we have people like Dr. Algeier, we have our SROs and our SLEOs in the building, and we have our guidance counselors, and we have our teachers, and at every faculty meeting, and every time I talk to them, there are a couple things that I ask them to do. Number one, in order for our kids to connect with us and feel like they're part of us, we have to get to know them. We need to know their names. We need to know a little bit about them. We need to know what they're dealing with. And that also has to have a ton of communication between our faculty, our staff, our administration. So on a daily basis, we're trying to touch base with the students. We're trying to touch base with the wellness coordinator, with the guidance counselors, with the teachers. And I have in Hanover Park High School and at Whippany Park, we have an open door policy. And we say to the kids, you don't have to be Batman. You don't have to save somebody else. But if you feel like somebody's struggling, tell an adult, tell a coach. Because we tell our coaches, we train our coaches on how to deal with these things. We have meetings at the beginning of the year and we do talk strategy. And we talk about winning games, which is important, right? But we also talk about if you want a healthy culture of a team, those students have to feel secure and they have to feel validated and they have to feel seen. And that's one of the things that we're constantly trying to do, because 15 years ago, it was more about test scores. It was more about showing up. And now, like you said, it's this intersection of so much information that, quite frankly, they can't process it. And what we're really trying to do is just build a community and a sense of belonging and a sense of safety, where no matter what's going on in the world, all the noise in the world, all the noise at home, when you walk into the building, you feel like you have a connection. It might not be with me, which is probably a good thing in some ways, right? They don't want to talk to me, but it might be with Dr. Algeier, it might be with their counselor, it might be with their coach, it might be with a teacher, it could be with an aide, it could be with anybody in that building who we understand if they need help, they can reach out to, and then that person can reach out to me or somebody else in the district, and we can get them help. And that's ultimately our goal. But if you have this overarching sense of it's important that your state of mind is in a good place and that you feel comfortable here and comfortable enough to ask for help because you feel connected, then chances are we can really help you. And on a daily basis, there are kids who struggle, probably more than I've ever seen. You know, I'm a product of the 80s, so a lot of this didn't even exist back then, right? But it's a different world. It's a different reality. And we try to make sure that those kids can connect to somebody so that they can feel that they're important and where they are mentally and emotionally and physically, quite frankly, puts them in a better space. So thanks to the leadership of Mrs. Carroll, we brought on Dr. Algeier. If I could clone her, I would have 10 of her in my building every day because the kids, they flock to her. And I will tell you this, and I'll get into some other things, but last year was probably the biggest test of me as a principal, bar none. I had a student who was almost fatally taken from us. It's still hard for me to talk about. And she was in an accident with several other students. As much as I was worried about the student who was in critical condition, I had 5 other girls who were on the precipice of leaving and going to college. She got them into the building. She met with them. That was the connectivity. And that, for me, was a big test for us. And I think if we can continue to do that, where the kids, when they're really dealing with something visceral and brutal, if they can feel connected to somebody, and I can get them back in the building, and they can go to class, and they can go to lunch, and they can see somebody, then I think we're winning. And fortunately, I mean, you all know what I'm talking about, right? We had a big day for the young lady, and it was a great story. It's a resounding success story. I'll carry it with me forever. But the people behind the scenes who helped those kids were the wellness coordinator, were the counselors, were the teachers, and it's all about connectivity. Okay, so then, just so some of the nuts and bolts, we infuse a lot of this into our curriculum, right? So we train our teachers, we talk to them about how you talk to kids, when you talk to kids, mandatory reporting, things of that nature. And then we also have a lot of character education and service learning, and I'll get into that a little bit more. That's part of our character education. But in a nutshell, it's really about taking what you're learning and putting into action, because if you do that, the studies will show you, and anecdotally I will tell you, you have a more empathetic group of students in the building. And if you have more empathetic students in the building, you have, quite frankly, a nicer place to work and a nicer place to go to school. We do a ton with our co-curricular programs. We have a lot of clubs, so many clubs, and I'll come back to that later as well, how that's also going to go back to what I started with, connectivity. Like, if you don't have a club and there's not something here for you, what do you want to do? Maybe we can start one. It might fade in 6 years because you've moved on, but I got you into the building. You're a wildcat. You're a hornet. You have an identity. You've been validated. You've been seen. Oh, you're not doing great. Let's talk. And it's kind of the way you can pull them in and make them feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves and also feel supported. Dr. Allgaier does a ton of programming with our students and our parents. And then, of course, we have crisis intervention that we use all the time. I'm sorry that I made eye contact with Chief Locke when I said crisis, but sometimes he gets the call. And then we also have a ton of connection to the community resources, as well as risk assessment protocols and things like that are all built in. So if I'm out of the building for whatever reason, my assistant principal, he knows what the steps are to help somebody. We have a lot of protocols in place because ultimately, at the end of the day, we just want to make sure, like I say to them when they're freshmen, when you walk in this door, I want to see you in 4 years when you're wearing the cap and gown and you're walking out. And the only way we can do that is if we have a sense of community and connectivity.
We've talked a lot about the overarching umbrella and the program in it as a whole, but one thing that we didn't talk about is how this gets into the classrooms on a daily basis. So some of the things is that we have that's very unique to the Hanover Park Regional High School District, and as Mr. Kelly said, when I speak about the district, I'm speaking about Hanover Park High School and Whippany Park High School, is that we have wellness courses that are integrated into our program. Courses like Dynamics of Healthcare, Fundamentals of Health and Wellness, and Scientific Principles of Nutrition, those are actually dual credit courses where students are getting coursework not only through Hanover Park Regional High School District, but they're also getting credit through Rutgers University. So those are dual credit programs that are focused specifically on health and wellness. Mindfulness, which is a unique course, a semester course elective that we have for our upperclassmen at Hanover Park Regional. Dr. Allgaier pushes into that class at times, and that is a very popular elective with our upperclassmen. Public speaking is something that we initiated or we reinitiated back recently into our curriculum. And it's interesting what we're seeing in public speaking is the anxiety that students are having to speak in front of a group. Dr. Allgaier is working with those students to push in to manage that anxiety and allow students to be flourishing in a public type of speaking environment. So Dr. Allgaier's services are not only on that broader spectrum, but they're getting pushed into the classroom in courses such as this. We have an independent reading initiative in our English language arts departments at both high schools. The concept of choice is extremely important for our students. Giving the students choice empowers them and allows them to learn and grow in the manner at which they choose. So that independent reading initiative is very important to us in order to allow students that concept of choice. Obviously, I talked about Dr. Allgaier and how she pushes in to to classes, and it's not only the classes that I've spoken about. There's a number of classes that she will push into on a regular basis to talk to them about self-advocacy. Our freshman seminar program, she has been in multiple times to talk about how as freshmen you can advocate for yourself to allow for additional student success. Allow them to make those responsible decision-making skills. We know they're adolescents. We know they're going to make mistakes, but the question is going to be, how are you going to learn and grow from those mistakes in order to be successful human beings in the future? Developing that social awareness and relationship skills are pivotal. As Mr. Kelly talked about, these students are very used to being on a phone. They do not speak with each other on a regular basis like you and I would. So what we try to do is we try to incorporate skill development in the classroom, such as cooperative learning types of skill sets, in order for students to be able to speak with each other, both in a professional, academic manner, but also in a relationship building type of manner. Those are skills that you and I might have taken for granted when we were adolescents that are not skills that are inherently developed in the teenagers of today. So all those mindsets that we sometimes think as adults, oh, well, this is what we do, that's not what adolescents do on a regular basis, and that's why we have to be very conscious of what we do to allow them to learn and grow in those skill sets and those soft skills, essentially, which are extremely important that we find as high school educators.
So I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about our character education initiative, which really was kind of revamped, I want to say, around 2010, because we found that it wasn't really working. We had a lot of placards on the walls, right? It would say citizenship, caring, fairness, respect, and we do an announcement, and we expected the kids to be like, okay, we're going to do it. They're in high school. They don't even read them, and they don't listen to the announcements unless their name is on it. I'm just being totally frank with you. So we had to revisit it, and one of the things that we wanted to do was we wanted to have an end game, and the end game was really about getting the kids more involved and experiencing something and then kind of thinking back on it, reflecting, and making it a little more intrinsic. And we knew that we weren't going to move a mountain in a day, but over time it might help. So we started our character education initiative, and at Hanover Park High School, in Whippany Park High School, the secret to our sauce is something called service learning. So I'm going to reference back to being a child of the 80s, where when I was in high school, we did community service. I'd go rake leaves, or I'd bring in a can of soup, and I did my duty, or I'd go to church, and I had to help out in some way, and that was community service. Well, now what we do is we take a class, and we teach them something. And then we take that concept that we teach them, and we ask them, well, how do you want to put this in action? How can you do something with this? And then the best ideas always come from the kids. So a while back, pre-COVID, we had something called the gallery walk. We had a genocide studies class. The kids would study genocides, genocidal atrocities, the causes, the roots, things like that. Initially, when we offered the course, I didn't think anybody would take it, but it happened to be one of our most popular electives. The kids were like, well, we want to do something where we can educate everybody on what genocide is, what causes it, and things like that. And then essentially what we would do is we build a pop-up museum in the hallways, and every kid in history class would go through a packet, and they'd learn about genocidal atrocities, the causes, the impacts, the effects, things of that nature. Then we would couple that with a guest speaker by the name of Maud Dom, who survived the Holocaust. She would speak to the students, and then she would walk through it, and then she would talk to the students as they walked through it with her, and then the kids would write it down on pen and paper, and they'd reflect, and it'd be a really simple question. How did your experience in the gallery walk reflect one of the pillars? Take a moment and write something down. And then that's really where you see the kids start to process it on an individual basis. And believe it or not, that's service learning. That's taking what you're learning, having the kids create the projects, create the pop-up museum, and have students go through it and reflect. And the kids who went through it and did it, they reflected upon it, it was great. But the kids who really learned the most, the kids where you saw the spark, were the ones who created the museum. They're the ones who did the projects. And then at lunch, you're like, man, did you see what I did in the gallery walk? Did you check that out? What do you think about that? And then they're high school kids. They're going to talk, and then they're going to weave in and out. They're going to weave in to the project and the genocide, and they're going to weave out and talk about Friday night's game, right? Or they're going to weave into it, and they're going to talk about how my tie doesn't match my shoes or something like that. They're high school kids. But if you listen to those conversations in the cafeteria, you can see that it starts to have an impact. And that's essentially what we do. So then we take those activities, and then we connect them to our pillars of character, and then we try to reinforce that on a daily basis. What do you think you can do? And it's always about choice. What can you choose to do? Even when we have students who are in our office for bad decisions, why did you choose to do that? What do you think the impact of that is? Because the easy thing is, all right, you're in trouble, get out of here. But it's much harder to have those conversations and get the kids to reflect. And if you can do that, it's much more helpful. But again, they feel connected. Those activities bring connectivity. And then when they start acting on it, and you listen to their ideas, and you let them, like, I want to do some sort of bake sale. All right, we'll find the materials, we'll find the money, you do a bake sale, but what's it for? Why? Well, I learned in my nutrition class that we should make like high protein meals for people who are, indigent and things like that. And you connect it, and they have the bake sale, and then they take that money, and then they give it to the Morris County Food Shelter. Something of that effect. And that really, really helps. And that, in a nutshell, is kind of our character education. And we have a lot of bullet points up here. The service learning, we integrate it, and it's in our curriculum, it's in our goals, it's in our PDPs, things of that nature. And then we also do the heavy hitters, like we do the October Awareness Months. We do newsletters, and we try to highlight the students who do it. But if you look at if you follow us on Instagram, shameless plug, I'm just saying, Hanover Park and Whippany Park both have Instagram accounts. What you'll see is we try to put up there as much as we can random acts of kindness. So I don't want the kid who's, the super athlete or the straight A student all the time. I want the kid who went out of his or her way to help somebody, didn't make much noise about it, didn't say anything, just did it. And the teachers email me or call me, or they come down and I listen, I always say Johnny, all right? Johnny did a really good job. He did this for another kid. I just want you to know. Cool. I bring them down. I give them a t-shirt. If I have any gift cards at Starbucks left over, I give them to them. And then I take their picture and I post it out. And then the parents get a nice surprise. Why are you on social media? Oh, well, I just helped out a student who was having an issue or a really bad day. I helped out a student who has special needs. I had a student who was struggling. Or I helped somebody, I picked something up. I did something that was totally random that somebody saw and the teacher recognized it. Connectivity. Connectivity. I'm still going. I'm sorry, I'm still going. I'll be very brief. I thought that connectivity was like a really good closing, wasn't it? Come on. I was like, nice. That was warned. I apologize. So, a lot of things that we have done, just nuts and bolts. We have a ton of clubs. These are just a few. Book Club, Kids Helping Kids, Saga, Erase, Interact. Those are all kind of service clubs. There's a lot of clubs. I have a sports media club. I have a Wall Street club. Over the years, I had a Ultimate Frisbee Club one year, right? But we've had a lot of clubs where we try to get the kids involved, and then we also do student focus groups. So the superintendent a few years ago spoke to me and the principal at Hanover Park and said, listen, I want to hear from the kids. This is what I want you to do. I want you to get a panel of 6 kids. One panel is going to be freshmen, then another one sophomores, then juniors and seniors. Twice a year, different kids. I want to meet with them in the guidance conference room, and she's going to ask them questions. I call the kids down. I say, listen, you're going to have the opportunity to sit down with the superintendent and she's going to ask you questions. And they all think they're in trouble. I'm like, no. You're going to get a very candid conversation with the superintendent of schools who's going to ask you, essentially, how can we make the schools better? The number of ideas that have come out of that are awesome. But then what happens is the superintendent gets firsthand knowledge, boots on the ground, feedback from the kids, and then what the kids do is they go out. Where were you third period? I was in the focus group. I was the superintendent, Mr. Kelly. It was awesome. What did they ask you? Oh, they asked me my opinion. They wanted to know about this. Did you tell them about the paper totals? Yeah, I told them about that. And then the next thing you know, I'll have 4 or 5 kids come out like, hey, the next focus group, I'm your guy. Oh, no, I want to be in on it. But what we try to do when we make these focus groups is we try to take a cross-section of the student body. I want to take kids who are involved in everything, who want to go to Princeton. And then I want to take kids who are not as involved and don't necessarily know what they want to do. And then I want to take kids who are in Votech and like, no, I'm going to go into HVAC and make a fortune, and you're going to be calling me in 10 years, Mr. Kelly. I'm like, yes, you're coming to the focus group, so that we have different disparate voices, and that's really how you gain information. But the power of being able to sit down with a superintendent of schools, she takes the time to do this. It builds, again, connectivity. The game of life is something where we bring in an outside organization and the kids go through, they're given scenarios and they have to find out where the resources are. Scenario might be, well, you're out of power, you don't have any money, who do you have to talk to? And you go to the various communities, organizations, they'll come up, they'll set up tables, and you'll go to them with their situation and they'll help you out. And it's just to kind of introduce them to the resources that are in the community. And then we have wellness that's infused into our classes like crazy. A lot of our teachers do breathing exercises. They have the kids sometimes do standing and stretching, do brain break walks, grounding through the senses, and then the public speaking thing is amazing. I have students who are brilliant. You put them in front of a crowd and they freeze up. So that's something that we really need to address. And we're doing that through a public speaking course, and then also through other pieces of the curriculum. And then AP exams. If you're not familiar with advanced placement exams, it's a testing rodeo that takes place in May where the kids are really, really stressed out. And we do a lot of things with the kids. We'll do a lot of AP study sessions and things like that. And as we get closer and closer to the test, it's not as much about content as it is managing how you're approaching it. When you start to feel stressed out on the test, what do? You do the breathing box. You reflect. What are you drinking while you're taking the test? Are you drinking water? Are you drinking a Monster, right? Things like that. And we try to help the kids so that they can manage that stress, not just when they're taking the test, but building up to it. Because there's a massive amount of anxiety when these kids are like, well, I really want to do well on these tests, because ultimately they could have some implications on college credit, where I get into school, and things of that nature. They're high stakes, and we try to make them more realistic about what those high stakes really are. You're going to be okay. This test is not who you are. Just approach it the best you can, and here's some strategies to do it. Okay, I'm out.
All right, so this is my favorite part to share. This is my office at Whippany Park. Not the traditional looking office. I have a very similar one at Hanover Park. And you can see there's some sit-upons, there are some twinkly lights, there's a lotus in the middle. It does not give the vibe of, let's get down to business and get a score of 5 on an AP exam. Let's make sure we get number 1 on the team. No, come in, you're welcome. Whoever you are welcome. I run a number of wellness groups. I thought maybe I'd do 1 or 2 per school, see how it goes. I'm running 6 currently. And between the 2 buildings, we have a big breadth and variety of types of kids that are signing up. It used to be a few with like some good intellectual literature minds that have some insight who want to go a little deeper. Oh, well, then they brought a friend. Now there's actually a jock from one of our teams on there. Now there's this whole group of kids. I brought 3 friends, and now they're all signing up. I want to get into the next one. When's the next one? And I'm thinking, okay, well, what do they want to do? What do they want to learn about? The number one thing is actually connection. They want to be in there. They want to be seen. Their points want to be valid. They want to understand that they're not the only ones going through this. We have groups such as the Art of Assertive Communication. Now, I'm pretty much 80s, maybe 90s with my childhood, and still no phones. Our kids are afraid to call to make an appointment. If I say call your dentist, like, oh my God, are you kidding? Click. Is there a way I can text them? Can I text for the appointment? Please, please, please. You know, can you go to that teacher and ask for help? Would an email be better? No, it would not. Please show up. Please do something. But they're nervous, so how are we going to talk about that? What do I need? How can I ask for it? Why are my needs important? Who's going to advocate besides me? No one. You are the number one advocate. The second area, transfer student support. We are lucky that we have a diverse community. They're coming from all areas of the state, if not the world. When we've exchanged students, people coming from Ukraine, we have people coming from other counties. It is a very different vibe coming from southern Florida rolling into northern New Jersey. And they're walking through the hallway saying, where are my people? Who do I belong to? More like, who do I sit with at lunch? Who do I walk the track with during gym? Are they going to think I'm weird? I don't dress like this. I dress like this. My hair's like this. They come in nervous, worried. We had 4 different countries represented in our last transfer group. Not only did we have children that were new to the district, we had children new to the language. I'm talking Chinese, and I'm supposed to connect somehow with a student from here that's grown up since they were 3 in the school district. So a lot of that group was, we do have overlap. We can be welcoming. How can we extend our hand to these students? How can we make connections with these students? We have things called under pressure. I just had this morning. I had 6 AP kids. And when I say AP kids, we're talking 4 APs in their schedule, scheduled for 5 next year. They are under a lot of pressure. And they sometimes get tripped up with irrational belief systems. If I don't get a 4 or a 5 and get my credit, I will not get into this college. If I don't get into this college, I won't get into this career. If I don't get into this career, and before you know it, you're walked all the way down to, I am jobless and unhappy and on a rocking chair by myself until the end of my days. Whoa. Because we couldn't get a good score in lit, in AP Lit? Where can we walk it back and try to go back to the basics of, how do I deal with distress? Can I tolerate it? Can I accept it's there? Can I manage myself with a strategy and move forward? They're on yoga mats doing grounded breathing techniques, leaving the room just a little bit later. We have a lot of groups that have to do with the ins and outs of resilience. It's not going to go away all the time. Not for us, not for them. How do we deal with that? There are groups about anxiety, about anger management, that I too might feel isolated or depressed. And how do I reach out when I can barely feel I can get out of bed? And then there's a lot of things that have to do with academic, vocational. I have some students right now that are working with DVRS, the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation Services. They have special needs, and way back in the day, they might be thought of someone who might be unemployable. And that's not the case. There are job coaches, there are resume builders, there's community-based instruction. They are valuable members of our community. So how can we make them feel that way? How can we prepare them? There's a tiered supportive services, much like a pyramid, and my pop-ins to every single solitary freshman seminar class is to make my face known and that services are known. That is universal. Having a speaker come for assemblies about the use and misuse of social media, universal. But then there's the wellness groups where the kids are like, I need this. I want to sign up for this. I'm struggling with my mood. I need to connect to someone. They're self-identifying. They're a tier 2 group. And then the tippy top of the pyramid, the top little percentage that I work with are the most psychiatric cases we have in the district that are facing the most adversity. These are kids who may be products of abuse. These are children who have substance abuse that is running rampant in their homes and they need somewhere to go to talk about it. These are kids who have tempted their lives before, who need a suicide risk assessment, and who need resources beyond the school and the family. These are kids we have to have other agencies. Many of you are here tonight. We've worked with the Arrive program, we've worked with NJ4S to extend a hand from the outside to pull them up because they can't get up themselves. And those are the kids I see one-on-one. Those are the kids that we sometimes have to send out for psychiatric evaluations. Those are the kids that are in my nest in this room every single week. And they're the most precious children that need the help the most that are part of our group. Last but not least, we have parent workshops. Just last night, I worked with a room full of parents about how do I not only handle stress and anxiety, how do I handle my stressed out teenager that is now living in my home? Oh my God, I'm scared of them. Okay, let's walk that back. What are they doing? What's happening? And how can I help them cope without, one, either ignoring and not validating it's real to them. We might be wise enough to know this will pass. Or we need the help in starting that conversation. They're holed up in the room all night. How do I get them out and talking? So a lot of what we do is community outreach, individual intensive services, structured programs, and a lot of connection. So you'll see me associated with graduation readiness or our NEST workshop. Yes, they're going to graduate, they're getting their diploma, but do they know how to navigate a campus map by themselves and ask for help? Do they understand how to reach out to a therapist when they're living in another state away from their family? Do they know what it means to advocate when something not right is happening? They have to speak up for themselves. There's workshops on college planning that the counseling department puts on every year, and there's resources for family. There's so many families that want the help, they just don't know where to start. So we're here to connect them, to make the warm pass off to a human, to someone we recommend, to an agency we've worked with before. Either one. He's like, keep the microphone. Fine. So what we're seeing is the more we see our children, when I say see them for who they are, how they identify, what they're experiencing, the more they come to us, the more they feel safe, the more they feel like no matter what happens, no matter what landed me in detention, the principal's office, whatever it might be, they're still going to be loved, they're still going to be welcomed back, we're still going to work it out with them. They're going to feel more engaged. There's something for everyone. There's a ping pong club. You can do anything. There was a Minds Over Matter organization a little while back about people wanting to learn about therapeutic effect and how to find more advocacy in the community. We want to see the staff engaged with our children. I'm invited into public speaking courses so I can just help them with their jitters. I'm invited into other courses where we're going to do a mindful walk and inhale and exhale and stimulate a vagus nerve to make a calming sensation over our body so we can handle the hard decisions that are in front of us. We're giving tools for everyone. There's an increase in parent involvement, and when there's an increase in involvement, there's an increase in self-worth, because now I know you care enough to show up and hear me out and take me seriously. And then there's evidence through our surveys and our focus groups and our meetings and our student observations that we gather informally. And some of this is, oh my God, they're coming to school. Wow, this kid's been absent this many times, and they're actually in their seat engaging. What a phenomenal piece of data. Now that data is not going to look the same as an SAT score, and the life that's in the seat because we helped bolster it and make them feel worthy is not going to always show up in a ranking of a school. But what we're going to see is that these kids are gaining value in who they are and why it's worth striving for a higher quality of life, and that's when we know we've done a job well done. And all the resources can be found there, but I think more conversationally so, when we see it in our children, in our community, in our groups, you see it live in front of you.
Does anyone have any questions?
When can I get an appointment for the breathing?
Your referral slip can be handed in tonight. We can sign you up.
I just want to thank you, Mayor Gallagher, for having us this evening. Oh, I'm sorry, there's a question.
Not so much question, it's a comment. I'm very happy to see that you're embedding social emotional learning into the curriculum. You have, I don't know if you're aware of it or not, but you have a study out there, a meta-study, that backs you up. It was done in 2011 by Loyola University and University of Illinois. It was a study of 214 districts, covered every demographic, it was 275,000 students, K through 12. By embedding the social emotional learning into the curriculum, those districts experienced a 50% drop in disciplinary problems and an 11% increase in test scores. And I believe a follow-up study a few years later, those test scores were up to about 14%. So my background, I was fire captain for 26 years. While I was in that job, I was the contact officer for critical incidents. When I retired, I became a disciplinarian in a middle school, so I had a lot of work with emotionally challenged students. And one of the problems with use this, please. Thank you. One of the problems with kids being in a constant state of anxiety, it triggers that fight or flight syndrome, and it actually affects the architecture of the brain. The good part is it's not irreversible. And social emotional learning gives these kids the skills they need to deal with the stressors. So now with social emotional learning, if it's done properly, the kids are managing the stressors instead of the stressors managing the kids. What else did I notice? As you said, kids are constantly on their phones and everything. You know, like I said, when I was a disciplinarian, that was a big issue. But in doing that, as you well know, they're losing those interpersonal skills, which also affects problem-solving skills, which as they get old, and you know, parents I have a 31-year-old son, and you always want to try to solve all their problems, but that doesn't do them justice in the long run, because you're not always going to be there when they need a problem solved, and if they don't develop those skills at basic levels over the years, they're not going to have them when they really need them, and that's going to become a problem in the long run. Also, removing the stressors, the kids being able to deal better with anxiety. The study also showed that it reduced physical problems in adults years later. So you are absolutely, you hit the bullseye. You have studies to back you up, and the districts that are out there doing that, it's showing real benefits, in the long run. I think part of the problem that, I noticed when I was a parent, I'm on the Mayor's Wellness Committee in Chatham Borough, and in some communities, it's like a competition with the kids. My kid got higher scores than yours. The kids should be competing with themselves, trying to get the best that they can out of their abilities. And the more parents start to live through their kids, and it's like, it's a reflection on how good a parent I am, how good, my child does. That's a lot of pressure to put on a kid, and it's not fair. You're not going to not get into Harvard, like you said, if you went to your club or you played baseball or something like that. There's got to be a balance, and I think a lot of parents, we need to reach the parents and say, hey, you know what? It's fine to motivate your kids, but it's not good to drive them. That's not going to be good for your kid in the long run.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank Krista DiGiorgio for helping us set this up. Krista, thank you very much. You did an incredible job. I'd like to thank and recognize Deputy Mayor Mahalko, who's back there. Mike, how you doing? And Hanover Township PD, thank you very much for being a big part of everything. I'd just like to say to our team from Whippany Park, actually Hanover Park Regional, what was really special about tonight, to me, is a lot of people talk to us about what we should do, not knowing what we actually do and not knowing what you actually do. So how many times do we go to assemblies at our schools and watch our children? But I haven't seen an opportunity for our families and children to watch you and what you do for them. So the fact that we're recording this tonight, it's going to get a lot of views, we're going to put a lot of time into the editing, and we're going to section it out. So we're also going to work with you on how to title this portion, and it's going to be what Hanover Park Regional High School is doing for you. Because many, many people don't know what you do until something goes sideways, and then they learn. But I think you do a phenomenal job for whatever that's worth.
Thank you.
Tonight, I learned a lot, and therefore our families are going to learn a lot, and I could speak on behalf of our team. We really appreciate everything you do. And Mr. Kelly, one thing you said is interesting, and I learned this title from Tracy. We learned a long time ago how dangerous being isolated is. But when you take isolation and then you referred to connections 3 times, I know the connections in your building, and I know the connections in Hanover Park, which is very, very, it is the same. The atmosphere and the attitude is the same.
Absolutely.
So connections piggybacks onto isolation, Tracy, and I think I know how important that is. So that being said, we hope you hang out with us for a little while. Maria Carroll, you have to. You're on the dais, so you're not going anywhere yet. But thank you very much, everybody. Great job.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Okay, now, our secret weapon, not just Hanover Township, but our entire group that works together side by side on many, many issues, is Tracy. And Tracy's title of her portion is Navigating the High School Years, Emotional Well-Being and Academic Pressure, and Mental Health Support for Students and How to Help. And Tracy, I just want to say, even before you begin, thank you, and thank you for everything you do 24 hours a day and for years that I know of. So thank you, and God bless you.
Thank you, Ace, and thank you all for being here. I've had the privilege of working, I guess I should turn my mic on. I've had the privilege of working with Hanover Park Schools for years, and they're wonderful. You know, they don't just talk the talk, they walk the walk. They really do care for their students, and I think that really showed by all the great programs that they offer. You know, not every school takes wellness into account like Hanover does. So I'm glad that they were able to tell you about all the great things that they're doing, and that really separates them from other schools in the county and even other counties as well. All right, I need my glasses, I can't see. I was like, Krista, it's not working. Oh, no.
I'll give it up.
Okay. Who's just said that? Oh, look at this, I'm just pressing buttons. Where's Krista? Did she leave?
She can't.
Okay.
We have our police department here. We can find her pretty quick.
No, it's okay, I think we got, well, what button do I press?
There you go.
There you go.
You're good.
And then hit the top.
Yeah, that's what I did, I think.
You're good.
Okay, so, tonight we're following a theme, right? So we're really going to be talking about how the stress of students comes home with them, and how not only as a school, a parent, an educator, but as a community, we could really help them. All right, Maria, what one is it? This one?
No, the top one.
Oh, geez. Oh. Okay, there we go. I thought that was the power button.
Yes, I know, I did too.
I think I need a stronger prescription. Okay, so high school is a period of, and anyone that I think has a high schooler or maybe even went to high school, did Mr. Kelly leave? I'm actually, oh, there you are. Sorry, I couldn't see you. I am a product of the 80s as well, so we didn't have cell phones or anything like that either. We still had some pressure, but I don't believe it's the same as what kids are under now. You know, I had my old neighbor, actually, I saw her from my bedroom window, like driving her kids a million places during the night. Like, They were on baseball, they were on rec baseball, they were on, I don't know, a million other kinds of baseball teams. So they were always going, and it's like, how do you have time to rest and reset? Okay, academic pressures. I know, oh, she left, I think, Lisa. Yes. So many students feel that they are consistently behind or never doing enough. Between coursework, exams, college admissions, extracurriculars, like I was saying, it's not just like baseball, high school baseball, it's rec baseball. I mean, my friend, her son is in middle school and he does rec hockey, and she just went to Florida, and before that she went to Buffalo. So it's like all over. So for some students, academic pressure becomes tied to self-worth. And I think we mentioned this earlier, one of the wonderful people from Hanover did, where grades feel, and I think the gentleman in the back, where grades really feel a measure of who they are, and not just what they've learned. And also too, stress really becomes a problem when there's no recovery and no support and no downtime to rest. We've been talking about social media a lot, and they say on average, high schoolers spend around 5 hours a day on social media. And listen, like, sometimes I wake up at midnight and I'm like, oh, let me just scroll through my phone for a minute. So, it's not just adolescents, but they have so much more pressure. It's so hard to shut down. So emotional and mental health challenges, stress, anxiety, common experience for all really high schoolers, but many struggle quietly, often a fear of disappointing their parents, even teachers themselves, coaches. Some students don't even speak up because they don't want to be a burden. We see this a lot too when students are struggling with mental health issues. Maybe they don't want to tell a parent because they feel like, well, my parent already has enough to deal with. I don't want to just add something more onto their plate. So that could be another reason. They might not even know what's going on. So when I was in middle school, when I was in high school, sorry, it all blends together when you're my age, I was diagnosed with depression. And I remember I was like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I just don't feel like hanging out with my friends. I don't feel like talking on the phone. But I didn't know that was really depression. So sometimes young people may not know what's going on. They might be scared to ask for help. That's why a trusted adult is so important. And students could have, or youth could have, more than one trusted adult. But it's so important to teach those parents, and I know this is spoken of earlier, about how to have those conversations, those honest conversations, and to really be open to what the youth in your life is saying. Okay, so students may experience all these that are up on the board here, but families might see something different. And I think sometimes it's hard, and we talk about this a lot, where typical adolescent behavior might look very similar to someone struggling with a mental health challenge. And that's where it becomes a little hard for, I think, parents. But some things to keep in mind: if you see the youth in your life not hanging out with their friends, maybe giving up the sport that they enjoy, that's when you want to be like, okay, there's something going on here. And let's be honest, youth have their ups and downs in their mood. I could actually say I have my ups and downs with my mood every day. But when you see a specific pattern of behavior, let's say that they're irritable, but maybe it's been 2 weeks and they're irritable and you notice that they haven't been hanging out with their friends. Okay, something more might be going on. Again, we all have our ups and downs in our moods, but when you see a constant change, that's when we want to have a conversation. And I think it's so important that when we do have that conversation, it's focusing on why that behavior is happening, because we're not going to get to the bottom of it if we don't ask why. If we just focus on, okay, well, you're coming home, you're angry all the time, and yelling at them. It's really getting to the core of what's going on. Social media, we spoke about, again, 5 hours a day, youth, think about that, they go to school, what time do you get out for high schools, 2:30?
2:45.
So 2:45, and they probably go to bed at 11, they have homework, they have sports, and within that time, they're spending 5 hours on their phone. So it's just a lot going on, and when you think about it, you know, there's so much pressure on social media to look happy, to be happy, the number of likes, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. I mean, I will be the first one to admit that I kind of look at how many likes I get too on social media. But it's that the fear of missing out too. So social media plays such a big role in our youth's lives. You know, I didn't have social media. I didn't even have a phone. I'm pretty sure cell phones didn't exist till I was like 21. So it just plays such an important role in our life. And as parents, sometimes we might not understand that. But again, it goes to what Ace was saying, what we were all saying, it's about connection. And yes, social media there might be a lot of negatives around social media, but there is some positives when we talk about that connection and the ability to connect with people online, you know, especially family members. Okay, signs adults often miss. Increased irritability. Change in sleep. I remember when I was in high school, I used to sleep till noon. I mean, I feel like all my friends slept till noon. But if the youth in your life is normally up at 8 o'clock and they're sleeping till noon, okay, well, what's going on there? Physical complaints, perfectionism, you know, and that just really adds to the stress. And stress could be a risk factor for developing a mental health issue, which is so important. Another reason why it's so important to have conversations with your youth. And, you know, we say it all the time that we need to normalize the conversation in our house about mental health, about mental illness, because if we're not talking about it at home, why would the youth in our life feel okay to come to us if they're struggling with their mental health? So I think one thing that we could do is really open that communication at home. So, why these signs might be missed. You know, sometimes it's really hard to identify things that might be stressful. You know, if a student is feeling stressed, they might not show it. They might try to hide how they're feeling. You know, we do have that, like, I feel like mentality, that world. It's like, well, everyone's stressed. Who isn't stressed? We're all under stress. Kind of normalize it when it's not, it shouldn't be a normal part of our youth's lives. So challenges faced by families. You know, communication barrier. I think having open communication, listening. I always say this, I always put it in my presentations, but I didn't today because I was trying to change it up, is that I always say that when we listen to someone, we hear them into existence. If we just think about ourselves as adults and the busy schedules that we have and the time that we take to talk to someone, how that really, what that can mean to that person. And it can mean a lot. And let's think about how hard it is as adults to reach out for help. Look, I don't like it. I'd rather do 100 things at work than be like, can you help me with this? And think about for a student, our youth, to reach out and ask for help, especially when, you know, we have that mentality like, oh, you're being dramatic, it's not that bad. So it makes it even harder, and we have to learn how to support our youth in that and really listen to them when they come to us and not think that they're being dramatic. And I think I tell this story all the time too. I remember my first breakup when I was 16, that I thought I was never going to find anyone, that I was going to die alone. I told my mom, like, this was the person I was going to end up with. Now that we're not together, I'm definitely going to be alone and not find anyone else. And I was so depressed and I was crying all the time, and my mom really listened. She wasn't like, oh my God, really? You're 16, like, relax, chill out. So she really did listen to me. Recognizing signs of distress. That's why you're here, to recognize, to know what to look for, and to have those conversations. Balancing support and independence. As parents, I feel like we just want to fix things and not necessarily just listen, and I think listening is so important. Like, think about an instance where maybe you're at work, maybe you're on the phone talking to a friend, and you're just venting. You had a really bad day, and you're like, just letting it all go. And then the person you're talking to is like, you know what you should do? It's like, no, what should I do? Like, I just want to vent. Like, I don't want you to fix it. I don't want you to give me your suggestions. Like, I just want to talk about how I'm feeling. So why students don't ask for help? They feel like they're a burden. We see that a lot. Like I said, when people are struggling with their mental health, stigma, even though it's 2026, there's still so much stigma around mental health. That's why it's so important to start those conversations in our homes. Talking about mental health is not gonna, make your child become depressed or diagnosed with anxiety. It actually allows them to have a conversation with you. They might not know where to go, and belief that they need to be in crisis, when sometimes they're coping just enough to not be in crisis, but it doesn't mean that they're not struggling. Access to mental health resources can be really tough. Between insurance and people's finances, transportation, we see this a lot. We work in Sussex County. It's so hard to get somewhere. Maybe a youth comes from a single parent household and that parent works 2 jobs. They can't take them to therapy. So even when a youth might want help, sometimes it's hard to get the help for many reasons. What helps? Protective factors. Having one trusted adult in your life, in a youth's life, is one of the greatest protective factors. It really helps youth weather the storm. And they could have more than one protective factor. They could go to one person for one thing and maybe another person for another thing. But just having that trusted adult goes such a long way. It really helps students weather the storm. So how families can support their high schoolers. Listen. I feel like I've said that a million times. I'll probably say it at least 5 more times before this presentation ends. So if you get anything out of this, it's about listening, and listening non-judgmentally is so important. So encouraging help seeking as a strength. Maintaining routines, boundaries. I think it's important that we also, what is the word that I'm looking for? I'll come back to that. It'll come to me. Model, say it's up there. We model good behaviors for our youth. Maybe it's not having your cell phone at the dinner table. Maybe it's taking the time to actually have conversations. Small, consistent actions can have a significant impact. So, showing consistent interest. If you're telling someone that they could come and talk to you anytime and you're not giving them the space to do that, are they going to come and talk to you? Giving someone your full attention, not being on your cell phone when they're trying to have a conversation. Again, let's think of it as an adult, how hard it is to talk to someone when we're struggling. Imagine being a youth. Imagine being in high school. Creating a safe place. I think that's also important, without pressure, without distractions. Staying calm, even though it might be difficult to do so. I've always said that I've heard that I haven't had a good poker face, or that I don't, but it's really important if someone in your life that's a youth comes to you, that you really take the time to not be judgmental, and letting your teen know that they are not a problem that needs to be solved. So what, you might say, okay, well, now that I know that I have to be supportive, well, what does that look like? So here's some things that you can say, which I think is so important, because sometimes even though we may know we need to do better, sometimes we don't know what to say. So something like, that sounds really overwhelming. I'm really glad you told me. Do you want help, or do you just want me to listen? I remember giving a presentation a long time ago, and I was saying something like, you know, I'm here to help you if you need me to. And I remember telling my mom, and she was like, well, you know, she's in her 80s, and she's like, if someone asked me for help, I'd be like, nah, I'm good. I'm never going to come to you if I need help. If you say something like support, like that's a little bit different. If you ever need support, you could come to me. And sometimes it's just helping without actually being asked. I think that's a big thing too. I was mentioning my mom's age because she lives in a really great neighborhood and she's out there shoveling by herself. And neighbors will just come by to help her. And, you know, if a neighbor was like, oh, do you need help? Can I come help you? She'd be like, no, I'm good. But the fact that they just did it, I think is wonderful. So I think just having that ability to just do something instead of asking, I think is also great. Okay, helping with academic stress without more pressure. I think it's focusing on the efforts, encouraging balance. Again, there's so much pressure with academics already. There's so much pressure that our youth put on themselves without having a parent add more pressure. And again, it's just offering support. And supporting emotional well-being at home, modeling healthy behavior, eating, talking about mental health, keeping expectations clear but flexible when stress is really high, I think is important. And you don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. It's just showing up is so beneficial when we're talking about youth. And as you see here on the bottom, your presence and willingness to engage are powerful protective factors. We all play a role in helping our youth when it comes to stressors in life, whatever that looks like. And I actually wrote something down where I was like, wow, this is kind of really awesome. So sometimes, no, that's not what I wanted to say. Hold on. I highlighted it. So open conversations where students feel heard rather than fixed can reduce isolation and build resilience. And sometimes small actions, a check-in, a conversation, could really change a student's trajectory in life. So, that being said, we have a lot of resources here. I'm not going to go through all of them. You know, if you do have a youth, starting with their school counselor is a great place to start. And here are some other resources. And here's some local ones in Sussex County. Statewide, Second Floor is a great resource in New Jersey for youth. They actually have a wonderful app that's pretty new that parents can use as well. And youth can connect to different groups on this app too. And it's monitored by volunteers that are trained. Perform Care is usually one of the first entrances to the system of care in New Jersey. 988, great. You don't have to be suicidal. You just dial 988. If you're looking for some support, crisis text line, New Jersey 211. Here's some additional supports, the Morris County Community and Behavioral Health Services, Family Crisis Intervention, all these, and I'm sure the mayor will send these out. Here's my information. If you're looking for more, I know I kind of went through things a little quickly today because I know we're pressed for time, and I'm sure Krista, who's great, I don't know where she is, I probably can't see her, she will be sending this out, I'm sure, to anyone that registered. Any questions? I'm really sorry, I probably just screamed in your ear for 20 minutes.
Very good.
There's Krista.
Oh, where? Oh, yeah. I said you'd probably be sending this out. Yeah.
Tracy, we are going to be putting together a one-pager, and we are, in our video, going to have close-ups of all of our displays here, including and especially our phone numbers and our contact information. But before we conclude with you, I just want to say we've been working with you for a couple years now, and I want to thank you on behalf of thousands of people that you touch and that you help. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again right here on this recording. if you weren't here, we weren't doing this. You are very, very special, and thank you for everything you do.
Oh,
For
well,
real.
thank you. And I have to say that these have become my family. I've been doing this now for over 3 years, 4 years probably. So I love getting together with all of them. And, you know, they really are, I know that may sound cheesy, but they really are part of my family, part of the community that I work with. And I'm so fortunate to have met all of you and to work with all of you. It's really my pleasure. I feel like I'm the lucky one.
No, thank you. Thank you. Okay, Hanover Township Police Chief Mike Locke. Chief, we've heard a lot about Arrive and the importance of Arrive. Could you please take the floor with your team and explain to us what Arrive is and why is it important? Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. So ARRIVE is an acronym. So it stands for Alternative Responses to Reduce Instances of Violence and Escalation. So here in Morris County, we have the Arrive Together program. So what it does is it partners law enforcement with mental health clinicians to be able to go out proactively to respond to instances, to serve the public, to get them resources as close to the time of the incident as possible. So here in Hanover, we have a clinician in the building on Fridays. That's our assigned day. We've been doing this since October of 2024 here in Hanover. We've been fortunate enough to have that relationship. Before it started here in Hanover, it was a county program in 10 towns, Madison being one of the first ones. So as soon as it was kind of brought to our attention, I immediately called Chief Misha and asked him how the program was going, and he said, hands down, one of the best initiatives that there is. So as soon as we were given the opportunity to get on board, we took every opportunity that we could, and it's been great ever since. So part of what that does is it's the outreach. As Mr. Kelly said, it's the connectivity part of this. So our liaison to the Arrive program is the school resource officer at Whippany Park High School, Paul Weaver. It's not by accident that we chose Paul Weaver to have this job. So he is fantastic at it. He has gone to more training than we can imagine to implement this and have it succeed in the high school, but also for the general public here in Hanover Township. So in the calendar year of 2025, we had officers submit 70 referrals to the Arrive program here in Hanover, while also having 40 co-responses from our clinicians. So we've had over 100 instances where we have put this program to use. It could be from calls for an emotionally disturbed person, to a domestic violence incident, to a missing person, or to a death of a family member. Those clinicians are out there. Even when they're not here on Fridays, we are calling them to come from other towns to be able to provide those services. So it's been a great resource for the officers to have that clinician there with them and being able to get those services as close to the time of the incident as possible. So within Morris County, this program has been led by Chief Assistant Prosecutor Meg Rodriguez. So she's going to go into a little bit of how the program started statewide here in Morris County, but because of Meg's dedication to this program, she was awarded the County Prosecutors Association of New Jersey with the Outstanding Advocacy Over a Career in a Non-Trial Position Award, mostly for all of her work in this Arrive program. So that's... This is the second time I've gotten to embarrass Meg with that, reading that award out. So I knew she wouldn't tell everybody, so I wanted to make sure that she does get credit for that. It's a testament to her hard work for the Arrive program, for every municipality that is afforded this program, and obviously the dedicated work that goes out to the public that it's serving. So, Meg, it's all yours.
Thank you, Chief. I appreciate that. I really love and adore being embarrassed, so that was great. Just briefly, because Chief already talked a little bit about really what the program is. It's a far cry from what we initially thought it was going to be. It initially started in Cumberland County as an initiative between their state police and their screening unit because they wanted to try to get screeners out to incidents where there was a mental health crisis quickly. So that's how it started, and they recognize that one of the big issues that occurs when somebody is in crisis is that there's a higher likelihood or potential for there to be a use of force on the part of law enforcement. A lot of times it's just simply unavoidable. You might have to put hands on somebody to get them into the ambulance if they don't want to go. And unfortunately, as we're all very familiar with, at times those incidents can escalate even further. And obviously nobody in anywhere wants that to happen. So it showed some success down in South Jersey, and then the Attorney General's office started saying, hey, let's move this out throughout the state. So we were approached here in Morris County and said, hey, listen, how do you want to do this? We want to put this program out there. What do you think is going to work for your county? So we're like, whoa, let's figure this out. And they're like, well, slow down, not exactly how you might want it to work. There's a certain structure. It can either be co-response, meaning you have a police officer and a clinician in the same car responding out to those crisis incidents. Or it could be a close-in-time response, meaning the clinician can follow the officer, whoever that officer is that catches that call, to the scene and respond that way. Or it could be telehealth, which we didn't think was going to be the best idea. Or it could be follow-up, meaning if an officer responds to somebody who is in any form of mental health crisis and feels that they would benefit from connections to services, that the officer would then submit a follow-up referral form, and then the clinician would be able to literally follow up on that and the next day or as quickly as possible. So we're like, well, why do we have to settle with or? What do we think is going to work best? And we were reaching out. Chief Misha was definitely heavily involved in this because Madison was already looking at trying to do a co-response program. We spoke to a number of the chiefs to try to figure out how is this going to work for your officers. Because ultimately what we saw is not just worrying about the potential use of force and not just only worrying about an incidence of an emotionally disturbed person. But we're recognizing that our officers, when somebody calls 911, they are called upon to be the experts in everything. Whether it is obviously regular policing, showing up to a car accident, investigating a homicide or a sexual assault, getting a cat out of a tree, whatever it is, they're expected to be the experts. And when it comes to mental health crisis, they were also expected to be a clinician, a counselor, somebody who could psychologically diagnose somebody. And you know what? That wasn't fair to them. It wasn't fair to them, and they shouldn't have been put in that position. So we're like, what can we do to help our officers in those situations? So we're like, can we do the close-in-time or co-response model plus the follow-up to try to get that off of their plate so they don't have to be the expert in that arena? And that's how our program here in Morris has evolved. And I can say, you start talking about numbers, there's a couple numbers that I could go through, and one is on my phone I get the alerts along with MHA for any time the comm center calls out a call that might be a mental health related call, and I wasn't trying to not listen to Tracy because it kept buzzing, and I wanted to see how many just in the last 10 hours. There were 10 in the last 10 hours. 1 an hour at least, and there are days that this phone is buzzing like there's no tomorrow. That's what our officers are facing and dealing with. So being able to assist them with our Arrive program has hopefully been a great asset. And we initially started in Morristown, Madison, Morris Plains, Morris Township, Roxbury, Denville, Randolph came afterwards. and initially 8 towns, and then we came here to Hanover, because clearly here in Hanover, there's a significant need with the variety of populations. And now we've moved over to East Hanover, we've moved over to Florham Park, we've moved over to the Chathams. So we are actually countywide at this point in time, with the exception of Victory Gardens. That's my job for 2026. And to get everybody on board, because we want to make sure everybody can get these services out to them. But one of the key things that Arrive does assist with is youth. Because if you have somebody who's having a psychiatric emergency and the screener goes out, they can't really go out for a child. You need to get perform care. You need to get family crisis intervention to try to get out, and then you need the parent to agree to that. Arrive will help with all ages. And what I do find striking about these numbers is a lot of times we are seeing like really young kids to the aged. So we deal with everything from juvenile issues to Alzheimer's, dementia, you name it. Whatever the officers need help with, our Arrive clinicians will go out and assist with. So as far as numbers, to close on that, as far as connections that we aim to make, right now, Morris County, we started the program in 2024. The program itself started in 2021. And if you go to the Attorney General's website, there's the Arrive data dashboard. And you can see how many, as of January 5th, that's where we're at this moment as far as their dashboard. There have been over 15,000 Arrive interactions throughout the state. We started later. We initially started with 8 towns. We added Hanover, we added Randolph, and then just went countywide this summer. And Morris County alone accounts for 2,357 cases of the 15. And the reason for that is not necessarily that we have that much more, mentally challenged or crisis people dealing with those types of challenges. Really, why our numbers are that high is because our officers have bought into the program and are making those referrals and really trying to connect people to services that they need. So I appreciate any credit that I get as far as my involvement, but I can't take that credit, because really the credit belongs to the police officers who are on the streets and dealing with these issues, and the co-responders and MHA who are actually out there and connecting with everybody. So I appreciate the fact that the towns have been so supportive. We look forward to trying to help as many people as we can, and to try to help our police officers do the best job that they can as well. Thank you.
Chief Misha, would you like to add anything to that?
Well, I'm not going to embarrass Meg. I've done it a couple times myself. Yeah, the Arrive program is, we've been on several panels for the Arrive program, and it does a fantastic job. I actually looked up our numbers in Madison before I came here to talk about connections. But we, for 2025, we had 170 total Arrive incidents. I didn't break down the follow-ups and responses, but the year prior, we had about half of that. So we're using it. Officers really bought into it. It works. Our use of force, I think the year prior, when I looked at it, use of force for any Arrive related calls were zero. We didn't have any. So it's a great program. It's working, and Megan and Mike heard me say it's a no-brainer that we have this program and we utilize the program, and we couldn't do it without the prosecutor's office, MHA, the sheriff, so and our local officials. So thank you,
sir. Sergeant Kilmer, do you have Arrive in Bayonne or a program similar?
Yes, actually, I'm the Arrive liaison for Bayonne. We do the co-respondent, and we do the follow-up also. We have Arrive in our town. We have mental health screeners 2 days a week. We're lucky at this point to have that. It's, like everybody says, it's a fantastic program. You're responding to a call of a mental crisis, if it's suicidal, something like that, with law enforcement with a mental health screener there also. So you're bringing them right to the scene, and it is making a huge impact. With that, with Arrive, we have crisis interventions training too. The crisis interventions training is a 40-hour course, and it's for the officers and the screeners to have a better understanding of what somebody in a mental crisis is going through, and it's a great impact on the officer to understand that more, to get that additional training to understand what somebody might be going through. And I think it's a great program. I'm sure you guys are utilizing that too.
Meg's our coordinator for
I love my CIT classes. And yeah, we do have CIT. Chelsea's been there. Tracy has taught there as well. And it's I think one of the other keys to it, again, this keeps going back to this connection theme. It's not only helping the officers and the clinicians understand what somebody in crisis is going through. What I think one of the keys is that it helps the officers understand how the screeners are dealing with it and other mental health providers are dealing with it, and how mental health providers get to understand what officers are facing and how they are dealing it and why they are dealing with it in the ways that they are. Because a lot of times you have, sometimes here, especially here in Morris County, we are resource rich. That is what they call it. We have all of these things, but nobody knows how to interact with each other. Nobody understands each other's jobs, and everybody's in their own silos. So our CIT classes, which are open to any advocates for people involved with families with mental health concerns, it really helps everybody understand how to best treat anybody who is in crisis.
Go to the connection word. I just added probably about a dozen contacts into my phone through the CIT training from every aspect of what we're dealing with, from the supervisors of the mental health screeners to 988, M-Court, to aspects of homeless shelters and things like that within our county. And that's what is going to help this program, by having the resource, by being able to make contact with that person and getting the person help.
Chief Locke, you want to close out this portion?
So I think everybody can kind of clearly see that this is a very successful program, but it is the partnerships that we do have through the police department and the schools and the mental health associations that are able to provide these services. And I think it helps everybody involved, especially the community that we're looking to provide resources to. So if anyone has obviously any questions for those resources, this information will be pushed out, but by all means, please call either the prosecutor's office, or your local police department, or obviously through your schools to help connect on those resources. So thank you, Mayor.
Hey, I just want to say thank you very much for bringing this program to us, and thank you very much for all the great work you do. Thank you. Okay. This next introduction is going to kind of be fun, because we always unofficially call Sheriff James Gannon Hanover Township's big brother, and everyone knows that Chief Jack Ambrose is our brother. So Chief, you are here in some pretty big shoes, but you have some pretty big shoes too. So I appreciate you being here, and if you'd like to take the floor and talk a little bit about some of your programs in Hope One, I would greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Ace. The RIDE program was spearheaded definitely by Chief Assistant Prosecutor Meg Rodriguez. And by the way, Morris County was late to the gate, but we're the #1 user of the RIDE program in the state. So that's thanks to you. Mayor, you said it. Access to the best resources. You put this together. You keep putting this together. This is access to the best resources. Mr. Kelly, great partner. Maria Carroll, Superintendent, great partners over the years in East Hanover. I hated when you moved over to Whippany Park. You have the quote of the evening: sense of community and a sense of connectivity. We can solve all problems if we implement that. So thank you so much for that. So Sheriff Gannon, when he was on the campaign trail, spent time at 4,500 houses, knocking on doors. He came up with the number one problem. The number one problem was addiction. So he got experts together, nice experts together. And he said, what can we do to solve this? And Hope One was created, all right? Spearheaded by, partnered by Officer Chelsea Whiting, who's here tonight, 2017. Since then, 13,000 life-saving Narcan kits distributed, 191 used Narcan kits returned, which saved a life. 2,048 referrals for life-changing services, and every 6.22 minutes, a new contact is made at Hope One. And Hope One has been replicated in 9 other counties in the state, and it's going nationwide and internationally too. Hope One bred Hope Hub, which was people or individuals at an acute risk level. We identified them at acute risk level. 823 individuals and families were referred to the Hope Hub. In 2025, the acutely elevated risk people reduced 100% of the situations. So everyone we met, we reduced their situation. 100% success in 2025. From 2021 to 2025, the acutely elevated risk people reduced 97%, so we're getting really good at it. And that's because we have 81 different partners with resources and access to services. It's a great, great program. Last program is the PARI program, the Police Assisted Addiction and Recovery Initiative. 26 of the 37 towns in Morris County use it, and it's people for struggling with substance abuse disorder. And it's, again, another successful program. And believe you me, I was one of the reluctant ones in the beginning to get this initiated, until you learn things that, yeah, sometimes it's good to lock people up, but it's better to give them help or they're not going to go back and do it again. So it's a tough challenge to get cops to break out of that cycle. Sheriff also has an ID program. You can't get a bank account with ID. You can't get services from Office of Temporary Assistance without ID. Our program in the Sheriff's Office has given out 1,665 IDs, county IDs to people, so they can get services, so they can get a bank account. So when they do get a job, they can access a bank account, access services when they need it, EBT cards, etc. Lastly is community connections. Again, Officer Justin Sudol launched in 2021. Community connections assist court-involved individuals with access to life-changing services. The program operates in conjunction with the Morris County Prosecutor's Office and the Superior Court of Morris County. Community Connections has helped 756 individuals in civil, criminal, family, municipal, and recovery courts and pretrial. Pretty successful programs, and we're helping a lot of people.
Thank you, Chief.
That's all I got.
Chief Santani, I know you have a hard stop. Can we have you for a little while longer?
Yes, yes, you got it.
Thank you. Okay, would you like to add to that?
Sure, if you'd like me to add.
Please.
Okay, perfect. So I actually came over, I started working in the jail in 2017, the Morris County Correctional Facility. And the recidivism rates are high, right? So just like Chief Ambrose said, when Sheriff Gannon was walking around, right, going door to door, he saw the need for substance use and mental health. That's what everybody had in common, right? That was the common denominator. Everybody knows somebody right now that's struggling with either substance use or mental health. It hit my family. I'm sure it's hit many of your families, and it hits you hard, right? So I was in the jail. I was there for 2 years, and I saw the Hope One trucks outside, and that is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. So I went through the police academy, I came out of the police academy, I got hired at the courthouse, went back through the police academy, and then I ended up on Hope One, and I absolutely just love, love, love my job. I eat, sleep, and breathe Hope One. We are here, I'm going to take a page out of Tracy's book, to support you. So if you need anything, my number is 973-590-0300. So I was lucky enough to work on Hope One, and then they asked me to actually spearhead the Hope Hub. So it originated in Canada, came over to Chelsea, Massachusetts. They told me my name was Chelsea, I was going to be super great. And then we launched the Hope Hub. So our Hope Hub is the second in the nation, and you know, we are striving for perfection. The Arrive program strives for perfection. We strive for perfection. So we're hoping that the 100% of situations that were reduced in AER continues. I thought that we would run out of people eventually to help, but right now we have actually visited every single one of our referrals, which is over combined 1,500 individuals out in the community since 2021. We do outreach them. We provide them with a non-perishable bag of food, toiletries, and then also a folder of resources, which has food pantries, all just basic information, right, for essentially to meet Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? We have to make sure that bottom level is covered before we can start making the next steps. So that is really all I have. I absolutely love my job, and I'm so thankful to be a part of it, and thank you to ACE for having us here.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, the newest one to our team tonight is Brittany. Brittany, welcome and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Brittany is going to go through mental health through recreation and the importance, again, Mr. Kelly, the key word for tonight, and I think our seminars from now are going to be called connections, but the connections and the importance of rec and mental health. Brittany, please take the floor for a minute if you would.
Thank you. Okay, so when we talk about mental health, we often think about counseling, services, and support systems, which, of course, we know are all incredibly important. But mental health also lives in the everyday moments, having somewhere to go after school, feeling part of a team, moving your body, laughing with friends, or simply knowing you belong. And that's where recreation fits in. Our programs aren't just about sports classes or events, they're about connection, routine, confidence, and community. Recreation creates spaces where people can unplug, move, socialize, and feel supported without that pressure. For a student, it might be a place to belong after school. For an adult, it might be a class that gets them out of the house once a week. For a family, it might be shared time that builds connection. Again, thank you, Mr. Kelly. Those moments matter and they add up. Mental health isn't just something we respond to, it's something we build every day. And recreation is proud to be one piece of that foundation. Over the summer, we have different camps going on. So we have our Summer Plus camp for incoming 1st through 6th graders, our Traveling Teens camp for incoming 7th through 9th graders. And these camps provide structure, routine, and a sense of belonging during the months when those supports can be hardest to find. And as our campers get older, that connection doesn't stop. We hire Summer Plus counselors starting at 16. Beginning at 15 years old, they can participate as counselors in training. And this gives them the leadership opportunities and a meaningful way to stay connected to the programs that they were once a part of. This spring, we're offering robotics for 1st through 6th graders. We also have a new executive functioning class for 5th through 8th graders, and that's going to focus on skills like organization, planning, and self-regulation. So both of those show tools that directly support emotional well-being both in and out of the classroom. For adults and seniors, we offer programs that support both physical and mental wellness through movement and connection. Our chair yoga and senior circuit classes are incredibly well received and loved by participants, while country line dancing and Zumba provide fun social ways for them to stay active. We also offer karate, our longest running program, serving participants from kindergarten through adulthood, reinforcing discipline, confidence, and growth across generations. In addition, our Senior Citizens Club meets twice a month and offers activities like movie days, book club, walking club, and other social programs helping reduce their isolation and keep them engaged and connected as well. Beyond classes and camps, our summer concert series, Patriotic Celebration, Winter Wonderland, and Hanover Township Day bring the community together in ways that create shared joy, connection, and memories across generations as well. We're also grateful to partner with students from the Whippany Park High School Interact Club who volunteer at many of our events, and they themselves model leadership, service, and community engagement for our younger participants. And then I'm just going to end by saying when I was in high school, I don't remember there being many resources. There was not much conversation or emphasis on mental health at all. It always felt like something we dealt with on our own. But the way things are going, and my hope is that a few years from now, another program coordinator can sit here and say, I don't remember when we didn't have resources, or I don't remember feeling isolated and alone. I always had somewhere to go. And that's the goal. And recreation, we're just proud to be part of that future.
Thank you very much. And TQ, Tom Quirk, Superintendent of Rec. You came on, you did an incredible job, you're doing an incredible job, and TQ is also a former Hanover Township policeman, so thank you for everything, TQ. Thank you. And Brittany, thank you. The next portion is a little bit interesting, very sad, and very dark. I went to 2 seminars, and I thought I had a pretty good understanding on what it was, and I spoke to Fern a few times about it, and Fern came and spoke to our mayor's wellness campaign about it. And Fern, I really appreciate you educating me more on this. I understand now how much I have to learn. It is very, very scary. It can happen to anybody. It's an area you don't even want to go to mentally to think about it. So when I say it's dark, I just mean it's so troubling. I want to fix it, but the only way we could fix it is if we learn and we educate people about the problem. So it's an honor to introduce Fern to take the floor for a few minutes and talk to us about it, but you know you have my commitment and you have our commitment to help this initiative, to bring it into more conversations with more and more people. So thank you, Fern.
Thank you, Mayor Gallagher, for inviting me here tonight to speak on behalf of the New Jersey Coalition Against Human Trafficking. By way of history, the coalition has been a nonprofit organization since its inception in 2011. I've been volunteering with the coalition for 8 years in many capacities. I just want to tell you really briefly how I got involved. I was literally, I told you I'm a 38-year resident of Hanover Township, and I was sitting on my living room couch reading the Hanover Eagle about 8 years ago, and there was an article about human trafficking in our town. And I was shocked. I was horrified. I couldn't believe it. This doesn't happen here. This can happen here. And so I started Googling more about human trafficking and what we could do and how I can get involved. And I found the coalition. And I met with the executive director, who is a fabulous person. And I just started volunteering to do anything they needed me to do. I had no expertise in anything. But they're such a wonderful organization that they used me to the extent that they could, and until I learned everything I needed to learn. So I just want to say, first of all, I am so excited about everyone here on this dais because I didn't know that I was going to be speaking to law enforcement and educators and mayors, because those are our target audiences. When we do trainings, when we do education, this is who we target. We have training for teachers, we have training for police departments, we have training for bankers. We have a lot of different trainings. And I probably don't need to tell you very much about human trafficking and what a serious problem it is, not only in the world, but in this country, in New Jersey, and in every single town. And as Ace said, it is dark, and I'm sorry that we're going to end on this, but But what I wanted to say is, it's not just a crime against people's bodies, but also their mental health. One survivor told me, and I know her well, she speaks often, and Ace, you met her, that her survivorship is a lifelong journey. It's been 40-plus years, and she still lives with issues of guilt, poor self-esteem, nightmares, and fear from being trafficked from nothing that she herself caused. So this is unfortunately currently happening to our children and teenagers, mostly through the internet. It doesn't happen like you see on TV or in movies that often. I'm not saying it never happens, but people getting picked up off the streets and cars, coming down the street and grabbing someone. That happens sometimes, but right now, it's the internet. It's very dangerous for our children. And so the kids themselves need to learn more about it themselves. We focus on, we have a program we present to high schools. We also do middle schools. It's like a half-hour-long program, but we also have for the educators in the room. And I think, Superintendent Carroll, you actually did use our training for some of your teachers, so I thank you for that. And we would love to have all the schools in Morris Township have our presenters come and present to the students. We also have a training program for teachers. We teach them how to deal with this issue and how to recognize the signs, the red flags, when they might have a student who is going through something like this. They don't just come out and tell you. They don't even know what's happening to them. They have been tricked. They are just confused, and it's a horrible situation. So I'm not going to tell you very much about the coalition because there's a lot to tell, and we don't have enough time. But I will tell you just that you need to trust me, that it is such a good coalition that last year we had the Attorney General come to our law enforcement conference as our keynote speaker. And this year, we are having the new Attorney General come as our keynote speaker again. So, so for the educators, we have those programs for the students and for the teachers. For law enforcement, we have a law enforcement conference. This is our second year. Chief Look has provided someone last year and again this year. I know we have people coming from Morris Township. We have people coming, I think, from Chatham, and Boonton, and a couple of other towns that I know for sure are sending someone to attend. Mayors can attend. It's more law enforcement, but we're happy to have you. So I would say that I don't want to take a lot of your time telling you what we do. You can look us up online, safernj.org. But we really, the law enforcement conference is coming up, March 4th and 5th. There was a special rate, because it's a 2-day conference. If you want to come, I can, even though that rate is gone, just contact me. I can get you that special rate, okay? And the prosecutor's office, we would love for the prosecutor's office to be there. There is so much to learn. We have so many speakers. We have survivors. It's all survivor informed. And I'm just extremely proud at how much Hanover Township has done in this regard. We have the superintendent of schools. We have, we did, as Ace said, the wellness committee. I did a presentation. They did a proclamation on human trafficking awareness just 2 weeks ago, I think. So they're very involved. Hanover Township is. I want all of Morris County to be very involved. This is such an incredibly difficult situation. And so I'm going to end with this because everybody's been here a long time. Please Go to safernj.org. If you're in the audience or anybody who wants to know more about human trafficking, please contact me, Fern Walken, 973-489-3378. And if anyone here on the dais has a card to give me, I will send you all the law enforcement information or education information, whatever, so that you can participate in this, because it is so, so important. And our kids seriously are depending on us to learn everything we can about this, so we can teach them to be careful and to just be safe, okay?
Can you give the number one more time?
My phone number?
Yes, please.
973-489-3378. Don't abuse it.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So I just want to adjust my intro, Fern, with an exit of your presentation by saying if the more we learn, the more likely we are to prevent this from occurring. So I want to leave your presentation on a very optimistic note. And you have my commitment, and I just said to Mark and Mayor Dougherty, we should go down there at least one of the days. I'm going to ask my colleagues up here after the event, let's go down for a day, learn as much as we can, and support this initiative as much as we can.
Yeah, just reach out to me, and I will set you up with the special rate.
Okay, thank you very much. You know what, we have an opportunity here for questions and answers, but we did run late. If anybody has a quick question or two, and to the gentleman in the back, I would definitely like to get your name and number after this. I really appreciate your comments, and looks like you have a lot of gas in the tank, and I definitely want to talk to you and see how you can be helpful to our team. I want to siphon some of that gas. Does anybody have a question or two before we have our closing comments? For anybody up here? Okay, Brian, it's like a meeting. Hearing none, seeing none. Okay, so what I'd like to do now, starting with our superintendent, Maria Carroll, if you have a closing comment, that'd be great.
Well, I'd like to thank everyone for coming this evening. I am very blessed to be part of a district, and I've been in high schools, believe it or not, this is my 28th year in public education, and all my education has always been as a high school teacher, administrator, and now superintendent. And like I said, I am blessed to work in such a special district with such special people. With Mr. Kelly, Dr. Algier was one of our hires, and as we said, if we can clone her, we would. The amount of affect, positive affect that she has on our student population is palatable, and has not only impacted our student population but also our staff population. And when you have that positive culture and climate in a high school, students flourish. So I'd like to thank you, ACE, for allowing us to showcase our special program this evening, and thank you for allowing us here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Maria. Chief John Santani, please take the floor.
All right, Mayor. When Mayor Ace asked me to sit in on this panel, I thought to myself, what do I have to offer? What do I bring to this? And then I thought about it. In 40 years of public safety in the fire service and my life experience, I said I might be able to add some to this. So the mayor said I had a hard stop. Tonight we had a family death. One of my close friends and a cousin died last night, and we were all gathering at his house tonight. But as soon as I heard what was going on, I belonged here tonight, and I think they would appreciate that. I came from a big Italian family, huge Italian family, and we have every one of these problems that we're talking about integrated into our family. And two things I heard tonight, two words I heard tonight, Chief Jack, was not only connectivity, Chris, that as soon as I heard it, I wrote it down, direction, Tracy, direction. In that big family, we had an informal network of people that gave you direction, that gave you connection, that gave you guidance when maybe you weren't going right. And connection's everything, right? And direction's everything. So I try to live back. I try to give that back now. We do that through our CERT program and our Office of Emergency Management. We work with the high schools on many programs, mentoring programs with the junior CERT members. We have our program where we were sending kids off to school at college and try to, enlighten them on what you have in the world. And then I thought, well, what do I bring from my fire service background? and I heard my fellow fire officer back there, you know, he hit a home run when he brought that up, and I said, I have to introduce that into this conversation. So we had another informal operation that went on, our kitchen table. Our kitchen table was a place where a lot of this got vented out. People's home problems, problems on the job, and then maybe you grabbed something and you brought that back and made it a formal issue to help them out with, you know, a formal direction. But I had a 700-man department, a very diverse department, 700-member department, guys and girls, and you had everything going on. And you realized how important direction is and how important connection is. If you can make a connection with somebody, you can help them. And I'm saying this from a personal perspective. I live with all of this. I lived with all of it, and they know. I worked very closely with Maria, Jack, Councilman Brokaw. They know my story, you know? And without direction, I could have went a whole different way. But with direction, I wound up being pretty successful beyond my belief ever. So I think this is phenomenal. Again, I should have been somewhere, but I'm glad I was here, and I think they would appreciate the fact that I'm here, and you won me over again, Mayor. I'm part of your team with this. I think it's a great job by the presenters today, and this is a little off, but that human trafficking is huge. We've been teaching this in East Hanover for the last 10 years, and it doesn't just happen to children. It happens at all levels. We have a World Soccer Cup coming to our area. This is very important. Don't let that just be a side note of tonight. That's very, very important. Thank you for bringing me in as part of the team, and you got me.
Thank you, Chief. Tracy, if I had my snare drum here, I'd give you a snare drum roll. But Tracy, please, closing comment and thank you.
I don't know how to follow that.
You did good.
Oh, well, thank you.
You inspired me to say some of them things.
I just want to thank everyone for coming out on a Thursday night. It just goes to show how important and invested you are, and the youth in our town, our community, our county. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming out.
Thank you, Tracy. Chief Jack Ambrose.
I got to tell you, thanks to you, I've been exposed to the Morris Plains School District, East Hanover's Township School District, and now the Hanover Park and Whippany Park High School District. And the resiliency they teach with these kids is just fantastic. We have the best school systems in the country. I got to tell you that. So thank you. That's all. I'll keep it short.
Thank you, Chief. Florham Park Mayor Mark Taylor.
Well, on this very cold night, we have to thank Krista in the back there for all of her hard work. And Ace for continuing to put this group together of great individuals, great people who bring a lot of talent to the room. You know, raising two children where I knew nothing, the children knew everything as they grew up, become both very successful, both products of the Florham Park school system and Hanover Park. But as well, I serve on the Jersey First Board of Directors, and it gave me great pleasure and an honor to go around the state when we were advocating for children during COVID to say that we have our children in school at least half the day. And that, I must give take my hat off to Maria and to Dr. Kapp, who was here earlier, because without you people, our children would have been further behind the 8 ball during this whole crisis that we went through with COVID. So my life story, were not for a guy named Artie Stober at Hanover Park High School, I probably wouldn't be in the profession that I've been pretty successful at for over 40 years, teaching me small engines back in the day. I now work in a corporation that is, I represent 40 companies in the automotive aftermarket, mostly in the race car and performance business, and it all came from that background of just having something in school that was different than what everybody else was doing and taught me how to make a living. So I have to give a big shout out to Artie. I don't believe he's still with us, but he is?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either, but he was the best. So, and again, I want to thank Ace for putting this together and bringing all these great people together. So, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Morristown Mayor, Tim Dougherty.
Thank you, Ace. We've been doing this now for a while. I remember when I first got the call from Ace, through our assistants, my assistant said, the mayor of Hanover wants you to get together and come to this meeting. I'm like, wow, I've been mayor for 13 plus years, and it's the first time I had a mayor from the other side of the aisle reach out and actually wanted me to be involved in something. So I said, this has got to be something different. So we connected and become good friends since, and I've been to every one of these. It's personal for me in some ways, and I've shared that publicly before. But in Morristown, we have a diverse community and we see a lot of different things. Human trafficking is one of the conversations that I've had with people in my town, or in different organizations. And I actually, when Fern was talking, I texted my public safety director and said I authorized police to go to this. I get a response from this. He goes, "Oh, we'll check it first thing in the morning." So hopefully they'll be in attendance, because it is important. We have a community engagement unit in Morristown that I started. I authorized the police to do because being on the street for as long as I've been on the street in Morristown, you see a lot of the mental health issues that are out there. Addiction and has no barriers. It doesn't discriminate. It really doesn't. And it will take everything from you, your family, and then we'll take you. And I've seen it, I've lived it, and it's why I'm very supportive of what we do here. And although you don't have 500 people claiming to, trying to get in the door for these mental health symposiums, but the fact that he's videotaping this, people will see it, people will know. And I gotta tell you, I don't want to take a lot of time up, but your presentation, you, Mr. Kelly, right?
That's correct.
I'm like, man, I don't get involved in the school side, because I think I let that take care of itself, because they have a school board and they have elected people that do their job. But that was impressive, and I took a lot from it. And I'm going to reach out to my superintendent, Dr. Mucci, and let her know what I've learned here tonight. And hopefully that Morristown and our school district is implementing some of the things that I heard. I'm assuming they are. Like I said, I don't get that involved, but I was very impressed with what I heard tonight from you and your organization, and what you do here in Hanover. When people see this video, and it won't be just in Hanover, it'll be all over Morris County. People are gonna want to move here. Are you building anything here, Abe?
I don't want to talk about that tonight.
So it was very impressive. But again, everybody that comes out here and spends their time doing this is important, because the biggest challenge, a lot of the challenge I see with our police department and is a lot of mental health issues. I see it all the time. And it was funny, I have a new neighbor a couple doors down, and I was walking the dog, and she said, "How you doing? How's everything going in town?" And I said, "Oh, good." She goes, "Oh, what's your busy night?" And I said, "Yeah, I got up, believe it or not, going to mental health." "Oh, I'm in that field. If you never need a resource, please don't hesitate to ask." So, boom, it's there. So thank you, Mayor Gallagher. Thank you for all the mayors and all the distinguished people that are on this dais, and our law enforcement and the people in the public that come out and the people in the public that will hear this. You guys are doing a great job, and now you're going to hear from the director of the commissioners of Morris County, who's our leader at the county level.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank you, Ace. I think I've participated in every one of these that you've put together, and in some respects, I think, Morris County is one of the wealthiest counties in the nation, and we kind of think, we don't have any problems here in Morris County. It's a great place to live, work, and play, and raise a family. We say that all the time, and it is, but as the mayor was saying, mental health and substance abuse, it knows no socioeconomic boundaries, political boundaries, demographic boundaries, so it's so important that you have these symposiums to shed a light. And I think the one takeaway, and we all learn this as public servants, you can't do anything by yourself. You've got to work with other people, develop partnerships, and there are so many resources out there on all different levels of government. Nobody should feel as if there's no place that they can go for help. There's plenty of places to go. We need to make sure they know how to get in touch with them. That's what this does. And, I want to thank you for that, and it's so important that people understand that there's help out there, and, we're a stigma-free county. This is not something that you should be, kind of pushing under the rug. I mean, that's kind of what we did back in the day, when I grew up. You didn't talk about this stuff. And once again, echo what you said about Mr. Kelly. I mean, phenomenal what you're doing over there. So I'm going to end with Ace, thanks for connecting us.
Mayor Donna.
Thank you, Mayor Ace. Again, I think I've missed one of these maybe, but now I've been involved a little bit, and I just have a couple quick comments. One, we do share, the Morris School District is Morris Plains, Morristown, and Morris Township, and again, I think that's great that Mayor Doherty is going to reach out. They are doing an awful lot. I love being at Morristown High. I am so incredibly impressed with all the work that they do for our kids. It's a really diverse population, but what they do to help their mental health, and especially some of the situations they are going through, is pretty phenomenal. So when you talk to Dr. Mucci, I'm sure, we'll just keep building on that. That being said, the issue about so many resources in Morris County and our surrounding municipalities. My husband and I have raised 4 kids. The youngest, who is 33, is going to graduate college in May on a different path because some of his mental health issues, his learning issues, he'll have some of these mental health issues for the rest of his life. But because we lived here and had the resources and had the ability to get in touch with all these good agencies and people who could help us, and the help he had through school, I know so many mothers that when they had to move away for different reasons were panicking because if they were moving to states that didn't have the kind of resources that are here. So I do, on the record, want to urge people 2 things. One, to seek the help, because seeking the help is a strength. And we do have resources, and they're getting better and better. So don't be afraid, whether you're the parent or a teacher or a coach or whatever, make sure you connect people so that they get to help. There's so much of our population that needs these resources, and not only do they not know about them, they don't know how to get them, and they don't even know who to contact. So that's a big issue. And the last thing I want to say is don't give up hope, though, because we are every day, with all the stressors that people have, all the things we're going through, there is a lot of help out there. The Arrive program, Hope One, everything, we are helping people, so don't ever give up hope. We will get better at this, we will be able to help people, and we will be able to get back to a place where we are feeling better about how we all live our lives, because we are in one of the greatest counties in the United States. So that's my message.
Okay, the newest one to this team is Mayor Carolyn. Would you like to make a closing comment?
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me. This is my first time. And I love that everyone is coming together, all these professionals in so many different fields, in shedding light on, like you say, you were talking about Fern speaking about human trafficking, about how dark it is. Well, it is dark, but by shedding light on it and by educating people, by educating our communities and our kids about the importance of mental health and of wellness. And I'm going to go back to Mr. Kelly again. Your name's said a lot tonight.
Mr. Kelly.
We're educating our kids not only in, math and sciences and literature and physical health, but by incorporating the wellness into the curriculum is phenomenal, because and that connectivity, because as you age, like human connection throughout your life is beneficial. So teaching that, how important that is, and weaving that in and making that part of your life for a young person is so important. There's a documentary called Join or Die about how important it is to maintain connections and join clubs and be a part of your community as you go through your life. And it adds years to your life. It adds a value to your mental health. And so I just applaud all of you for our teachers and our educators, our law enforcement, at putting that at the forefront, because that is making lives better for everybody. And like Mayor Gariglia said, it's evolving and we're getting better at it all the time. And something that I struggle with is thinking about, we've got all these resources and how to connect those resources with the people that need them, because I feel like sometimes the people that need them are the ones that are hardest to reach. And I so appreciate at the county, Casey Erico, and doing the community resource event. I think that's phenomenal. And we started doing that locally in Chatham Borough to try to reach people who may be difficult to reach and getting them the resources. So I want to thank so much shedding light on some things that can be dark, but are part of life and that we need to talk about and address. So I want to thank you so much. And I look forward to coming back next year.
Oh, you'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Brittany?
Yeah, I just want to say I learned an immense amount, and as someone who's born and raised in Hanover, I went to Whippany Park. A lot has changed, and I love everything that you're doing. And I'm very honored, and I'm grateful that you have asked me to be part of this panel. So thank you to Ace and everyone up here for including me and letting me be a part of this today.
Thank you, Brittany. Fern?
Yeah, so, very short, I wanted to tell everyone more darkness, but I neglected a big piece of what I was going to say, but I didn't stick to my script, which was that this human trafficking can happen to men, women, girls, boys of any age, any race, LGBTQ, citizen, non-citizen. So everybody should just know that, because this is not something that happens to one demographic. I wanted to ask the parents out there to, if you hear this and you are concerned, you should contact your superintendent of schools, your principals, because they can contact us and we can provide a program for them. What else? Oh, yes, I do have brochures outside on the table, so grab one. It has, all the contact information. It doesn't have mine, but you have mine. And if anybody here can leave me with a card, that would be great. And I also want to thank Ace and everybody here, because like Brittany said, I have learned so much tonight, and I am so grateful that you invited me to be a part of this. It's just amazing, because my kids went to Whippany Park High School, and I don't think this was available to them. This is going back a while. I think it's fantastic. I just think it's amazing, and I just thank everyone for being here and sharing their expertise with us and with everybody who's going to see this.
Thank you, Fern. Chelsea?
Hi, thank you again for having us. I just want to say for the Morris County Sheriff's Office, we're here to support you and help you through anything that there is that you need assistance with. We are connected with 81 different partners throughout Morris County, so any of those needs that anybody is struggling with, I've personally been there myself. I've needed connections to different resources, prior to coming onto law enforcement with my family members. So if there's anything that you do need, please feel free to reach out. We are stigma-free. We are a judgment-free zone, and just trying to break down that barrier to get those who need help the help that they deserve and that they need. You're not alone in this.
Chief Locke.
I just want to say thank you, Mayor, for putting this all together. The police department here in Hanover couldn't do it without the support of the mayor and Township Committeeman Cahill, who is our liaison to the committee, but also the schools. So Superintendent Carroll, Superintendent Toomey, thank you very much for helping us do our part, and obviously to the prosecutor's office and the other surrounding municipalities that have helped us grow this program. So thank you all for that, and we greatly appreciate it. So, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Meg?
Thank you, Mayor, for including me in this, and I definitely appreciate being part of all of this, and I just want to reiterate the message that law enforcement and our mental health providers in Morris County, I think, are top-notch, and we're out here to help you. So if there's anything that you do need, I echo what Chelsea said. We are here to help.
Thank you. Madison Chief Misha.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for inviting me. It's my first time here. This is fantastic. I mean, just goes to show you. I'll take a line from Sheriff Gannon. You know, Morris County does it best, and you really see it here tonight. Yeah, just thank you. This has been great. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. And Chief, thank you very much for being one of our Regional Board of Ed members, too. You're a public servant, a true public servant. Thank you, sir. So, Bayonne, New Jersey, Sergeant Kilmer.
All right, thank you, Mayor Gallagher, for having me today. It was a great night. It was great to experience all this. I think we all understand what the pandemic did with isolation, alcohol, and substance abuse. The importance of that is that we're having conversations like this. We realize that mental health is a serious issue. We've realized that no one is perfect. I'm certainly not perfect myself. And if you had cancer or another type of disease, you wouldn't hide it and you would seek help. So it's important to break the stigma. It's important to speak up. I'm proud to say that I'm coming up on 4 years of removing alcohol from my life. And thank you. And health is wealth. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. All right, before my closing comment, which will be very short, I just want to thank everybody here for your time, your expertise, and your giving, and your dedication. I just want to say that, you know, I said it before, and here's where I'm going to end it. The last takeaway for tonight is we want to make it crystal clear to everyone that you're not alone. I think you can see that clearly tonight, and we do this not just in Hanover Township, but we've done it with our partners in other parts of the county. I want you to know, I said it before, we are available to you and to each other at all times. All of our resources are your resources, and they're just a phone call away. So please, we are available, and I'll end it on a funny note for Chief Locke. Every one of us in all our positions typically don't want to make the phone call. They show up at our houses and don't know what to do. They don't know who to call. They don't know what programs are available. So many times, people will come to my house and ask me to call the police and tell me why. And I'll say, why didn't you call the police? They said, I don't want to bother them. The chief says, tell them to call me. Right, Chief? How many times do we have this conversation? But that's how people are with mental health. They don't know the programs are out there. They don't want to make the phone call. They don't want to be judged. And stigma-free is a beautiful, beautiful slogan. But we all have to practice it a little bit better, every one of us. And the one thing I'm going to say, and I just want to say once again how much I appreciate this team. We've all become very, very close. We do a lot of beautiful things together. So that's my comment. Guys, thank you very much, and hope to see you soon.
Hey,